Hi everybody, welcome to episode 82. This is all about Tour de Fleece. So here you can see me oiling up my shacked matchless. I try and remember to do this after every 100 to 200 grams of fibre spinning. Keeps everything moving along quite nicely. This is the last 100 grams of my sweater spin. This is John Arbon Yarnadelic in Black Gold of the Sun. Here I'm just splitting the 100 grams into two roughly 50 gram chunks. If I were more careful as a person, I'd probably weigh this out on my scales, but I just fold the strip in half, tear it in the middle, and it seems to be good enough. Tearing off my first little chunk, my very first singles, dragging my lap cloth out from underneath the dog, and then just drafting it out to make the spinning a little bit easier on my hands. I plan on doing a lot of spinning in July, so I need to look after my hands. It was fun to start this spin actually watching along with the Tour de France live, so if you see me glancing up, I'm just keeping an eye on the riders and what's going on there. And we're off! Morning everybody, it is 2nd of July, Sunday, and it's quite early. Susie is sat just by the tripod. Are you guys early risers? I am. What is it? It's 7:30 in the morning and I've been up for an hour and a half. I'm up at 5:15 most mornings for work, so I had a massive lie-in until 6 a.m. And I usually use this time to just chill out with the dogs, listen to an audiobook, although this morning I'm watching knitting podcasts. I'm watching Stacey Elston of Stress Knits. She hasn't podcasted for a while, so excuse me, interesting to watch her podcast. And I got a lot of spinning done yesterday. I was watching the tour. That is how much I've got left of the first bobbin of singles. And I'm quite excited about getting onto the second bobbin today. It's been less than 24 hours since I put the last podcast up, and already I've had lots of people with suggestions about what to spin next, so that's brilliant. Thank you to everyone who's been commenting. I didn't set my microphone up on this. I hope the sound is okay. Try not to talk too loudly so I don't wake the rest of the house up. That's Susie having a scratch. Yeah, this is my last titchy little bit. I am very excited to be able to spin something other than green. Much as I love this colourway, because I've dragged this out for so long, I've kind of had a guts full. Whoop! Hey, first bobbin done. And there it is. Oh, it's probably better over there. Not bad, eh? Oh, I've still got a little bit of stuff on the top. So there's that one done. Oh no, I found another bit. I haven't finished. That's my second chunk of fibre. I've got this bit left. Oh, I was so excited. Oh well, I'll have to put this all back together and keep going then, won't I? Oh, gutted. Still, it's not very much, is it? If that's more than 10 grams, I'm the Queen of Sheba. So near, and yet so far. Right back in there. On the plus side, I do get to use the beautiful orifice hook again. And I haven't lost my end. There we go. So I'm all back attached now. If you're a spinner, do you pre-draft your fibre very much? I do. I probably pre-draft it way more than most people. It's one of those things that I find helps my hands. If I do quite a bit of pre-drafting, I mean, for something like this where it's going to end up as a solid colour, it doesn't matter if you pre-draft lots. I know that for the spinning techniques or methods of plying and things, you might not want to muddy the colours too much by pre-drafting, but I'm just going to go for it. Whatever keeps me spinning. The only trouble is, you pre-draft and it gets longer and longer and you think that's going to take me ages to spin. That was a big size, Susie Sue. This is my spinning lap cloth. It's a California tea towel. It was sent to me by the lovely Melissa. Hey Melissa, if you're watching, I hope you're doing okay. But look, and it's square. A tea towel's normally square in the States. I don't know. In the UK, they are definitely a rectangle. This is not a tea towel podcast. Shut up, Zoe. Okay. Let's see if I can get this back in the game. Maybe this is like when the cyclists have a problem at the side of the road, you know, on the Tour de France, when they have to pull over and fiddle with their bike chain. Maybe that's what I've done. Let's go with that. Oh, it is Wednesday, the 5th of July. Quick check-in. I've finished my first 100 gram singles of the tour, which means I've finished the last set of singles of that sweater spin, and they're just sat on my mantelpiece over there. I like to ply on my electric eel wheel. I think I showed this earlier, because I know I can fit 100 grams on the big bobbin, no problem at all. That's the previous 100 grams, the fourth 100 grams, and you can see there's tons of space left on it. I realised when I was showing you my finished skeins that they were different lengths. Some of them I wound on my niddy noddy, which I quite enjoy using, and the end of this one is designed to come off to make it easier to store, but it's got loose, so I've had to jam it in there with a bit of post-it note. But this makes really quite long skeins. They're sort of long and floppy and don't seem to come out very tidily, so I don't think I'll be using that. What I do have is my Ashford skein winder. It has a little stand at the bottom. It's basically fixed with a peg at the bottom. Can you see that? Yes, you can. And I found that with all the winding action going on so far away from this joint at the bottom, it was a bit creaky and unstable and wobbly, and I was worried about breaking things. So Dave very kindly screwed these metal brackets in either side just to make it a bit sturdier. And he also added, so can you see, some very simple hooks so that I can run the yarn through here, so that it feeds in and then up to the arm and round it goes. And this skein winder is adjustable. I pretty much always have it on the widest setting. So I thought I'd set this up, wind off the previous finished 100 grams, and then I can sit down and start plying the final 100 grams. Yay, the crowd went wild. Up now, so I've just got to tie the skein off in a couple of places to keep it nice and tidy, ready for when I soak it. I tend to use little scraps of other 4-ply yarns for these jobs. I just keep them in a jar and grab a snippet when I need it. No scrap is too small. So I do a little figure of 8 around it. There's probably some terribly professional way of doing this and you're all shouting at the screen saying, no, why don't you do it? Can't. This is fine. This works. Cut my ends off. And spin it around and find the other end to get tied in. Little snip. So that's both ends of the skein tied in, and then I just find another midpoint so that it's all secure. I don't tie these too tight so that when I do wash them, the water can soak in properly. Slide it off the pegs. Moment of truth. Hang on a sec, let me move my skein winder out of the way. So here is the skein, and if you can see, it's got one twist at the bottom. I think you can see it best if I hold it in front of my t-shirt. So that is a pretty well balanced skein, I reckon. Says the headless person. And there it is up close. Now obviously it hasn't been washed yet, so it's going to poof up, but I am pretty happy with that. The colour's quite blown out. It's a really sunny day today. I've had to close one of the dining room curtains. So it's definitely darker than that in real life. But I think that's pretty good. So I'm just going to line this up, poke one end through the other. Tidy it up. I don't worry too much about making it neat and tidy at this stage. And there's my skein. Now, all I need to do is set myself up for plying the next one. Can I do it all in one sitting? I suspect not. It is, what time is it? It's just after 5 p.m. So the dogs need their supper. I need a cup of tea, and then I can sit down and do some plying, I think. There's Susie Sue, very grateful for her dinner. She's got Sven the reindeer. And there is poor old Jim. Hey Jim Bobs. He is wearing the donut of shame after his surgery, but as you can see, he's looking pretty perky. Right, my plying awaits. I usually ply in the front room, and I have my electric wheel in front of me on a coffee table, and then I balance my Lazy Kate on the arm of the sofa. I've got an Ashford tensioned Lazy Kate. I'm sure lots of you are familiar with these. It just has this little spring and some fishing line that you can hook around the bottom of your bobbins, and you can tighten and loosen it with this. Oh, I just realised I forgot to bring the bobbins of singles over. 1 second. I'm sure Shacked do their own Lazy Kates, but I don't need to buy a special one of those. These sit well enough on my Ashford one. They have a black plastic middle, I suppose, core, and that's not quite flush at the end of the bobbin, so it doesn't sit completely flat on this smallest wooden bit, but I don't really find it matters. Adjusting the tension on this, it's hard to make a fine adjustment. It's quite large adjustments only. So sometimes, rather than use the tension knob and fishing line, I can achieve a really light tension. Rather than having it sat flat on the sofa next to me, I just tilt one end, and just the weight of the bobbins and the little bit of increased friction on these uprights gives me just enough tension. So if you're finding that your singles are drifting apart when you're plying and you're using a tensioned Lazy Kate, try slackening it off and just tilting it a little to see if you can use the bobbin's own weight to just give you a tiny bit of pull. Probably shouldn't say this out loud, but so far my singles have been quite sturdy, so I've got away with it. Okay, let's get cracking, shall we? Thread these on, and I can sit the fishing line around this groove of the bobbin. Sorry, the top of my head is cut off. If you want to be able to see the action, you can't also see the top of my head. Although to be fair, you can't really see the action either. There we go, that looks a bit more like it. I always have a handy dandy clothes peg with me when I'm plying. If the doorbell goes or my phone goes, I can just peg this on to pinch the twist into the orifice, and if I'm stepping away from it, I tend to peg my singles to one of the uprights here, and then I can pick up the Lazy Kate and the wheel and put it away on a shelf. And one of the fun features about the electric eel wheels is you get a little orifice hook, and there's 2 magnets just here on the body of it, so you can clip it on nice and safe. I've got the orifice reducer on this one. I have been plying without it. The idea is that it will stop your yarns jumping around inside the larger orifice. So you can see it reduces it from this really quite large one to this smaller one. I don't find it makes that much difference. I've left it in there mostly because I can't be bothered to go and put it away. And I do find that this this orifice hook has a smaller hook on one end and a larger hook on the other. And even the smaller hook is a little bit wide to pull through the smaller orifice when you use the reducer. I need to find some of Dave's pliers and just clink it down a little bit. I'm probably scratching the inside of the reducer as I go, but good enough is good enough. So there is my my leader ready to go. I've still got the tiniest tuft of the previous skein on it, so I can pull that out. One singles. Ooh. And there's the other singles. I was watching Tiny Fibre Studio the other day on YouTube, really knowledgeable lady, and she sets her lazy Kate the other side of the room to what she's plying it on, and she says it helps even out the twist in the singles before they ply onto your other bobbin. And yeah, that's not something I've ever done. I don't know if any of you guys do that. Not that I've had any problems plying particularly, but maybe it's a thing and I never knew. See, now I'm going to have to fiddle you around so you can still see what's going on. Is that better? Shuffle that way a bit. Right, it's set to S for plying. And I'm going to turn my speed up to number 3. Oh, no I'm not, because it's not switched on. That one in there, that one in there, that one in there. Yeah. Houston, we have a problem. Ah, there we go. I just hadn't plugged in the cable quite tightly enough. Nobody panic. Right. There we go. And we are off to the races. I'm going to have to shuffle these a little bit further apart. Now, just so that you guys can see what's going on, I'm plying sideways. Have the machine off to one side, and I usually have it in front of me. And in order to try and get the correct amount of twists per inch, I always ply at the same speed when I'm spinning multiple skeins of the same thing, and I try and count. So when my fingers leave the orifice, I count one arm's length, which again is easier to judge when it's in front of me. And then that should hopefully ensure I'm getting the amount of plying twist that I want and that it's consistent between the skeins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then feed it on. I think I need just a little bit more tension. Stop it and just relax the tension on it. Have a little check. That's not quite as many twists as I'd like. I think because I'm sideways, it's got more space, so I might need to either decrease the distance between my hand and my eel wheel, or just maybe count to 11 or even 12. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit and see how that gets on. Hi, it is Saturday the 8th, I think, of July, so day 8 of the Tour de France, and I need to wrap up this chunk of the podcast and then I can start another one today. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who watched my previous podcast episode. Sorry about the noise, I've got all the windows open. I haven't quite replied to everybody's comments yet, but I am working my way through. So, also, I'm going to do an Ali. Do any of you watch Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful and This Wonderful Life? I love her. She's one of my favourite podcasters. And she's often quite concerned about the state of her hair. By the way, Ali, you always look gorgeous. Don't worry about it. And I've had a bit of a week. And last night I got back from work, I had a shower and I went to bed and I could not be bothered to dry my hair. And this is what I look like. So from smooth and suave in the previous podcast to Kate Bush in a wind tunnel. So yeah, Ali, you have nothing to worry about. Right. I have finished my final skein. Oh, it's not going to focus, is it? There we go. Of John Arbon, Black Gold of the Sun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got no idea about yardage or anything yet. I need to give them a soak and a snap, and they all need to dry. And when that's done, I can work out my wraps per inch. I can work out my total meterage. And once I've got all that information, I can decide what I actually want to knit with it. At first glance, I have done the best I've ever done at spinning consistently. If you remember, I had that control card with a sample of singles and a bit of plied on it. And I think overall, I've done a pretty good job. And hopefully that will mean that I won't need to alternate skeins in my project. The fibre I bought all in one chunk, so I don't need to worry about dye lots. So hopefully I can just wind the yarn up and get knitting. If you have any pattern suggestions, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 4-ply of some sort. Any pattern suggestions that particularly work well with hand spun. If we work on the assumption I've got 400 meters in each skein, but yeah, leave me a comment below if you've got anything that you think works quite well. I won't have enough yarn for a lot of cables or moss stitch or anything like that, but maybe a bit of lace somewhere. I don't want to hold it double with anything. Much as I'd love to knit a love note, I just want to use my hand spun for this project. So let me know below if you've got any other suggestions. And that means I need a new spin. This weekend is also the John Arbon Virtual Mill Open Weekend, and that's the mill that fibre came from. They had an in-person one last month that I couldn't make, so I've signed myself up to some of their talks and events over this weekend, which means I need something new on my wheel. I've decided that I'm going to go with this gorgeous bat. This is a cat and sparrow bat that I got in my Pontypridd car park haul. Haven't really had any thoughts about how I'm going to work with it yet. I just wanted to let you know what I've chosen, and I'll talk more about it in the next video. Right, that's me signing off. I've started the editing for this already, so hopefully I'll be able to get this up over the weekend. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. Please, please, please give me a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. It helps my channel find other people. Yeah, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye.